Blair Nathan Williamson.
Q.
Your last name.
See that?
I'm always call her Suzuki Williamson.
Have you guys ever said I love you to each other? Nope.
Yes, we have.
But, yes.
On our cell phone. Say, I love you, Hunny-Bunny.
Hello.
Cutie.
Welcome to Beat the Biz. So, as you can see, I'm wearing my Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge mask and wearing the Celebrate, Don't Separate. So we're in the mood for the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, which was, as we know, created by the wonderful Nick Novicki. And we are here today because this is the first year that I finally took the plunge and said, okay, I'm gonna do a film. And we have the amazing, wonderful crew that is here today from our film, Hunny-Bunny. And here we are. Yes. We have the director, Jayden Barrial.
Well,
We have the editor, Henry-Barrial. The co-producer, Eva Fisher-Barrial. We have the composer, Chris Hendricks. Co-composer, Trevor Bumgarner. The graphic designer, Heather Smith. And the producer, David S. Zimmerman.
Oh, that guy.
Yay!
Yay.
So how is everyone?
So good.
Good.
That was the greatest introduction in the history of.
Oh, wonderful.
I get all excited at the beginning of these things because I'm like, get those energy, those nerves out, and I'm gonna start with our wonderful director today. First of all, I have to say, all of you, I mean, we have turned in 5 days or whatever it took to do this, the short amount of time, I feel like we're the Hunny-Bunny family.
We are.
yeah.
And Jayden, you're such a wonderful director. I mean, it's like you had a vision and you took the instructions that were given for the challenge and you incorporated them into the film. Why did you decide to do a film about Susie and Blair?
Well, originally it was an assignment for my film class, and I decided this was going to be the last assignment before I went to high school, and I decided to do something different because I had always just been doing comedies and stuff like that, and I decided to do something different, and I decided to do a documentary, and my mom told me about Susie and Blair, and I was interested, instantly hooked on the idea of that film.
Right.
When COVID happened.
And then COVID happened.
Right. How was it to work with, as a family, your mom and dad working with you?
Well, it's great because I can just go on my dad's computer instead of having an entire draft sent to me via transfer, and it's easy to collaborate with them when they're at home with me.
Right. Well, I know that it's so great because when I finally said myself, maybe this year I'm going to do it, because when I heard it was a documentary, and the first person that came to mind was Blair Williamson to do something about Blair. And I called up Gail and asked her about doing a story on Blair and Susie, and she said, sure, but you have to meet this amazing person, Jayden, who's already gotten footage. And I said, well, I have some footage. So it was a perfect fit, and to have the whole family here and merge it all together. So it was it's interesting how, if you allow yourself in life to just not fight certain things and go with the flow, magic can happen. Now, Henry, you are known for your acting, your directing, your producing, and you have films like Driver X, Pig, and Heartland. What what was the best thing about working on Hunny-Bunny for you?
Well, I mean, there was just some wonderful material there. I mean, the two leads, if you will, Blair and Susie were just fascinating people. So I remember when at our first kind of like Zoom meeting, you were kind of like, well, is there enough there to? I'm like, there's too much. So how do we whittle it down and make it so you want to be in that situation where there's too much good material. Like even when I watch it now, I wish maybe we'd it'd be nice to have gone into this area of their life or this, but it's a nice little poetic piece but again, it was just there was a lot of rich material, and those two people are wonderful, bright people that you want to watch and listen to.
Right. I was on Facebook earlier, and somebody sent me a message, and I saw messages similar to this. A friend of mine, Paul, and he said, I love this film. It's so what we need right now because it really shows this pure love. I mean, it is all about love.
Yeah, and that became clear in one of our earlier meetings. I think Chris talked a little bit about that. Like, we all wish we could have a love like they have, and so that became kind of like the theme. And so this idea that, they figured it out on a lot of levels, themselves. And so they present kind of like almost a model to us, maybe how to do it a little bit. So anyway, it was just, again, there was a lot of rich material, and the group itself, like we were talking about earlier, how we kind of gelled and we talked about it, and all the ideas that came out felt pretty good. And so it was pretty easy, actually. It wasn't like most films are, you work so hard on them.
Yeah.
So this felt a little bit easier for some reason. Maybe just the kind of the chemistry between us.
Yeah. And to bring everybody together, and it was like the puzzle pieces just fit together.
Mm-hmm.
Henry, you do editing, producing, acting, directing. Do you have a favorite?
Well, I love directing, and I don't get to do it as often as I'd like because it's a very expensive medium. So but I do love directing because I love actors, and I love working with actors, and so there's always a kind of a nice chemistry that can happen on set. And I'm very actor centric, so I really love that process. But I love writing, and editing is really another kind of secret favorite of mine because it's sort of like writing with pictures, and with you kind of can recreate a story in the editing room, and they talk a lot about this, that the kind of the third phase of filmmaking is is post-production, is the editing. I mean, music makes such a big difference. All these elements that come together later on, that weren't on set at the time, play such a big role. But I have three loves really, and I've done some acting because I can, and those are my loves.
Yeah. Well, and then of course the love of your life, your wife, which is right next to you. What a joy to work with you and your family. Seriously, it's so interesting how you could meet people and just come together. When did you? What?
Via Zoom.
Oh, I know, right? It's like, I keep on singing this song, a whole new world. When did you first, Eva? When did you first meet Blair Williamson? Was it on Heartland?
Yes, we produced a movie 20 years ago. I actually wrote it and Henry directed it, and it was based on the relationship I have. It wasn't based on it, but it was sort of loosely based on a relationship I have with my brother, who has Down syndrome as well. Right. He lives in Florida. And so we had auditions here in California, and he came to one of the auditions, and it was like instant. And
yeah, he does have that chemistry, doesn't he? He's that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that we became, we filmed together every day for 3 weeks.
Right.
And Henry and I were not even married yet. Were we? No, we were engaged.
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah, because we've only been married 19 years. So we produced this fun little project together, and that Blair became a part of my life.
oh. And then, of
Yeah.
course, you met Susie.
And then I met he started dating Susie soon after Heartland, obviously. So,
Right.
but I knew about Susie.
Well, that's another thing I think that's interesting too, is the length of time that we've known them. I mean, you've known them for what, 20 years. I've known Blair for 25. Right away, we knew what we wanted to do. The other, one other thing that you are so amazing at is your photography. I mean, your eye is like, oh, I've seen your pictures, and it's.
Thank
How long
you.
have you been doing your photography?
14 years. When Jayden was born, it was something that I started taking lessons online because I was creatively, I felt like all of a sudden I was like at home taking care of my sweet baby, but creatively I needed an outlet. And so I got a camera and I started taking classes online and using Jayden as my model. And it went from there.
And now you have a coffee table book of Jayden.
Yes, and now I have a 500-page coffee book.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
They'll hopefully thank me when they're older.
Right? Oh my God. I know my mom has all my pictures from like birth to like eighth grade, and then it stops. But
Oh.
and my nose grew, and she was like, "You're not a child anymore."
So the 8th graders, he's a 9th grader now. They don't like to have their pictures taken anymore.
That's it.
Yeah.
The 9th grade. I remember it well. You were talking, I mean, of course, Henry brought up the music, and we're so blessed to have two amazing composers. And Chris Hendricks, I mean, I have to say, and I think I've told you this before, but maybe not, that you are actually one of my favorite songwriters.
It always gives me far more confidence than I deserve.
Oh, please. Yes, but when you start singing and when you start creating, that confidence just like, it just comes out. I just saw my face when I did that, and I looked like, I don't know what I looked like. But what I meant was, it's just amazing, the creation. I mean,
I agree.
I tell you, whenever you write a song, it's like it's magic. And your voice, I mean, I listen to it. It's like there's few voices that I listen to and go, every song, it's like, oh, it's like you're having like your ears are going, woo. How did you create this amazing song, the theme song for this movie?
Well, it's funny that you say the word theme song, because I want to go back to something that Henry mentioned, which was I knew the theme of the film like instantly, just seeing the first bits of footage, before we even really came together. And I'll say it again, just the love we all wish we had, or the relationships we wish we had. And so it's sort of this along with that came music that sort of represented both innocence and maturity at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the relationship that we all wish we had, there is sort of this, when you first meet someone, there is this youthful glee, right, that comes along with it. But at some point over the years, for most of us, whatever, life happens and the love is still there, but the glee isn't necessarily, And so to see something of this nature that just hasn't waned at all, to me, the song was like, it was instant. And you always know when something fits, at least from a songwriting perspective. It's different when you write a script. When you write a script, and then you write it again, and then you write it again, and then you write it again, you write it again. With songwriting, if it really flows out of you, you know that it's the right fit. It's the songs that take forever to write, usually, in my experience, that are like, oh, well, maybe this isn't the right And so, yeah, it's easy when you have a group of people that come across super honest. The music has to be just as honest. So that's where that comes from.
They don't know what they don't know, but I say so what? They don't know us. I got that rock, babe. You got that soul, babe. So let's roll our sleeves up and get them spun like na 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 na. Hey love, I love you.
I just, and now why this project though? Why did you say, I want to do this project?
Well, I mean, you, man. It's,
You can say no to David Zimmerman.
Yeah.
I'm
I told you this before in a previous interview, but you found me at a real crux in my life and my career. Outside of an art gallery, and I had just kind of my music career in North Carolina had just kind of, I don't want to say faded, but it was changing. I didn't know what direction I was going to go in. And I was playing some original music outside of that art gallery for fun. And you were like, we must work together. And I was like, really? Because I'm from North Carolina. And you were like, I don't care. You need to. So it really all started with a belief. And, I thought that I really needed the crew that I had in NC. And you sort of reminded me that I could carry myself in that moment. So, of course, I wanted to work with you. I wouldn't have the belief that I have without you in my life. So,
well,
yeah, not even a question.
Thank you. And the way I look at it is we all carry each other, especially with this. It's interesting how it flows, and then you magically introduced us to Trevor, Mr. Trevor, your co-composer. When did you two meet? How did you meet?
Trev, I'm gonna let you take that one.
All right, so the year was whatever 5 years ago was, and which feels like 100 years ago. But I was coming back from school, and just my aunt, she had this idea. She was like, I'm going to do a musical, and so she just assembled 5 random creative people. And so I fly back in from New York, and then I meet Chris and his other partner in crime, Andre, and we hit it off instantly. And so I knew, I was like, I'm going to work with these people for the rest of my life. And I truly do feel like I didn't understand music until like watching Chris work. So I was coming in with fancy music degrees, and so they were all like impressed by me, but I was just so impressed by them because I'm sitting there watching them in minutes, just coming up with incredible final product lyrics and songs, and I'm just sitting back. And so what it wound up being, kind of similar with this project, is thinking of like the movie The Gladiator, Joaquin Phoenix, sitting there, thumbs up, thumbs down, and and so Chris, he's just so creative. He just generates all these ideas, and then he just looks over, and I just I shake the hand, and then if it, thumbs up, thumbs down. So to some degree, with this film, we were talking about it, and he was telling me, and I was like, what's the concept? What's the premise? And so one of the ideas that came up, Chris, was the uke. And I thought it was just a perfect instrument because it's beautiful, it's simple, but like it instills that like happy Hawaiian sound. But also just like Hawaiian culture, like there is a lot of seriousness and kind of like darkness like down beneath it. So while it is this surface level lightheartedness, there is a lot of depth to just such a small, simple instrument that only does a couple things. So we're going through this, and I'm going to be playing a couple, like a melodica and a mandolin against this, along with what Chris had sent me. And then I think Henry had mentioned something along the lines of like, oh, but we don't want to overproduce this. And I'm like, he's absolutely right. So I axed my playing right there. I did my own hammer. I thumbs downed. I killed it. And it was right, because there's something about like the purity of it, like the little tweaks here and there. It makes it feel so much more real. It's not distracting. So in our typical working fashion for something like this, I just like a manager, I get on the phone, I'm like, Chris, I want 10 things on my desk by 8 p.m. And so he sends me 10 ideas that inspire him. And then so it's on me to kind of function just like an editor or like a curator. My whole goal was to take his playing, his tracks, his songs, and just to, put them on the wall in the right place, shine the correct light on them, and just make it match the film and the timing, but it still had that kind of like pure, raw music sound. And yeah, we saw the first draft. We played it on our first meeting, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can only harm this. Let's leave it. I think we're done. I think we're done here. And of course, I get a call, Chris, like maybe minutes before that meeting. Chris is like, oh yeah, I wrote a song. I was like, okay, I'm putting it in the credits, and there we go. So
That's great.
done. Done.
Wow.
I mean, that's unusual, David. I do think because the music stage is either completely hit or miss sometimes. It could be a complete miss. Now, that's what I was worried about. I was like, okay, we don't have time, and these guys got producing in a couple of days. And,
It was a total hit.
total hit.
Yeah. It's like it, here's that word of mine. It breathes. It's like, in a way, it's not necessarily another character, but it is the energy around these two beautiful people and it takes you on a ride. And again, some of the notes I've seen on Instagram or Facebook, we're talking about, oh, I love the music, and you get all these different things.
Well, it helps us understand the story. It kind of gives it that understanding, and so we understand it and the intention of it. And so, yeah, I was very, very surprised when it was like, okay, this is not going to be. I thought it was, we were going to have, multiple sessions, late into the night.
Right.
Yeah, I was worried about the same thing, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
And it's like, we love it. We love it.
Yeah.
I remember hearing it the first time, hearing that song of yours, and tears were coming down. Oh my God. And that beautiful woman next to you, Chris, Miss Heather Smith, Mrs. Posters are your vision paintings. And by the way, so we were saying, well, who's going to do the poster and who's going to do, and Chris said, well, I know someone. And then of course he said you, and then I went, oh, and then I brought out, this is one of my top 10 favorite things that I own or have.
I love that.
Isn't it gorgeous? Oh my God, I love it so much.
Love it.
And now it has like a huge story. I'm connected.
Okay, so do you want to? Oh, and I'll tell you when I painted that.
Yeah.
I was bartending at a wine bar here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and it was just always dead.
Yeah.
And so I would just bring my paints and just sit at the bar and just paint because there's no one there. While I was working. It was very authentically made. It was authentically made, like an authentic experience.
There it is, authentic.
Which is very Heather as well.
But yeah, hummingbirds are definitely like a constant spirit image animal in my life. So I'm so happy that she's yours.
Oh my God, she's on my wall now. I had to take her down but I have one question about this.
Yes.
You were at the bar painting it. What drink were you drinking?
I don't really drink, so I was probably drinking. I know, I'm the most boring. I was drinking Blenheim's spicy ginger ale.
Okay, that's my drink of choice, ginger.
Heather's hardcore.
It's like the spiciest ever.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, you made one thing that you said too. You wrote the tagline. When you created the poster, you put that tagline down, and it's like perfect. I mean, one thing that I always looked at Blair and Susie, and I always said to myself, I mean, I want a relationship like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, you have this beautiful tagline, the relationship we wish we all had.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. So what made you?
Poor David.
What? Did I get?
Take a moment.
It's okay that you're verklempt. We all are.
Right, verklempt.
We all are.
What made you want to be a part of this?
Well, you.
Oh my God, I wasn't asking for that.
I know. Well, okay, so it's just anytime you need anything ever, like that's just where we're at. And I rarely get to be a part of. Chris is always involved in a lot of things, and it's so lovely that you guys asked me to be a part of this. It's been very, very, very fulfilling just to do a little creative thing, and especially just because I love the community. I love Performing Arts Studio West, and I just want you to be lifted up and seen for the amazing teacher, leader, and influencer you are, and that like how just like this movie is. Yes, it's amazing. Blair and Susie are amazing, but also like David, it's just like you are the one that shines the light on these energies and these relationships and creates this like beautiful world that's just full of fun and love and joy, and you just teach life. Like you teach how to breathe and you teach life, and anytime I can be a part of it, like my hand is raised. So thank you.
I think we need to give David a moment after
This is what it's about for me. To have this amazing Hunny-Bunny family together, and everybody did their job. The director directed, the editor, and we all collaborated. We all did music and this and that, and like you said, Henry, it wasn't difficult. It just was a creation. Mm-hmm. And you said, Heather, about you love this community, and it reminded me, I wrote this down too, that this whole disability film challenge is so amazing. And I never, we've been like hosting it at Performing Arts Studio West and Meet the Biz at the beginning of it every year, but I never done a film. And by doing a film, it's like, mm-hmm. And especially this year, I mean, all of the years, but I've noticed how this year, by being so much a part of it and working with everybody, how it bridges that gap with all communities. It brings everybody together, and that's why this is such an amazing experience, and one that I'll never forget.
It sort of encapsulates I think now that you've said all of that, I think that the film itself encapsulates also the nature of the community and how the community is seen by the world at large, because the community as a whole, like Blair and Susie, are often seen under the guise or through a lens of this youthful glee, right? But if you really dive deep and get, really start to gain an understanding of the people that are a part of the community, you start to see there is a lot of depth there. There is a lot of maturity, and there is a lot of things. There's a lot of things understood by the community and the subculture that are not understood by the world at large, and the world at large could sincerely can tangibly grab a hold
Mm.
of some of this, especially right now.
Mhm.
Especially right now. So to me, it's a giant, extremely necessary metaphor for not only what the world needs, period, but how I think the community of persons with conditions deserves to be seen.
Yeah, and all the films, I haven't seen them all yet, but I'm planning to see them all, and it's just one after the other. They're so amazing, and you could see Hunny-Bunny and all of the films from the challenge on YouTube under the Disability Film Challenge, and you could also see Hunny-Bunny at www.honeybunnyfilm.com.
A little plug.
I know, a little plug. And thank you all for this wonderful new extended family.
Definitely.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing us together.
Yeah, your enthusiasm is infectious, man.
Yep.
Yes, in the best way. Proud to know all of you.
Susie, what's your favorite thing about Blair?
It's adorable. I hate my husband.
Aw, my Hunny-Bunny. Knucklehead.
No, you're not.
What are we doing again? We're doing this?
Oh, we're gonna do the heart, and we might
You have to practice first.
like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, get the test.
Okay.
David, yours is not a heart. Oh, Trevor, that's a good heart.
I got the light,
Oh, you did good. Oh,
the full finger.
It was like an oval, David.
like this?
No, you gotta make it more.
You got to fold it in at the top.
David, it might be your face behind your fingers that is really throwing me up right now.
All right.
That's a good one too.
We'll put it down, and then whatever hearts we can make.
Okay, go.
Put it down. Put them down. Put them down. And